There is a cry that rises from the soul of a man who feels that time has slipped through his fingers, a cry that echoes in the chambers of his heart, asking, can these wasted years ever be restored? It is the silent weeping of the mother who regrets choices that separated her from her children. It is the sigh of the man who looks back on his youth, lamenting the roads he should have taken but did not. It is the frustration of one who has labored in vain, watching others reap while his own hands remain empty. But hear me when I say this: God is a God of restoration. He is not a mere observer of your lost years. He is the redeemer of time. What you thought was lost in the abyss of regret, God has already marked for renewal. When the time of restoration comes, the signs will be undeniable, for the hand of God moves in ways that cannot be ignored. But before you see the full harvest of restoration, you must first recognize the divine signals that precede it. And when you see these signs, you will know God is about to restore your wasted years. There comes a time in every believer's life when the weight of regret seems heavier than the promise of tomorrow. There comes a moment when the past whispers its accusations, convincing you that too much has been lost, too much time has been wasted, and too many mistakes have been made. But let me tell you something. When God declares restoration, time itself bows to His command. What was stolen, what was delayed, what was hindered, God is about to bring it back in ways you never imagined. You may have wandered far, but the first sign of restoration is when God begins to stir a deep longing in your spirit. It is a hunger that cannot be satisfied by ordinary things, a yearning that pulls you toward His presence, toward His word, toward His truth. Suddenly, what once distracted you no longer holds power over you. The people, the habits, the cycles that kept you bound lose their grip, and you feel a divine dissatisfaction. That is not coincidence. That is God drawing you back. Because restoration begins with alignment. You must be in position to receive what heaven is about to pour out. The second sign is the sudden revelation of hidden lessons in your past pain. When God is about to restore, He does not erase history. He redeems it. The wounds that once seemed pointless start to make sense. The mistakes that once haunted you now carry wisdom. You begin to see how the disappointments were divine redirections. And here is the mystery of restoration. God will use the very thing that broke you to bless you. He will take what the enemy meant for evil and turn it into a launching pad for your destiny. The third sign is an acceleration that defies human logic. What took others years to build, God will give you in months. He redeems time, and He does it in such a way that those who once pitied you will marvel at your transformation. The fourth sign is divine connections. People you never imagined meeting will enter your life. Mentors will appear, destiny helpers will locate you, and voices of wisdom will guide you. You will notice relationships shifting. Some people will leave, and others will be planted by God Himself. Do not grieve over what walks away. When restoration is near, God prunes. He removes what cannot go with you into the next season. He eliminates distractions so that your focus remains on His purpose. The fifth sign is unusual provision. When God restores, He does not only restore years, He restores resources, opportunities, and even wealth. Suddenly, the ideas that once seemed insignificant will attract favor. The business that struggled will begin to flourish. The vision you once abandoned will find new life. And understand this, the provision will not come from where you expected. God has ways of bringing supply from unexpected places, for He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, and His resources are unlimited. The sixth sign is a supernatural peace that surpasses all understanding. When restoration is near, anxiety loses its grip on you. The sleepless nights turn into restful assurance. The battles that used to consume your energy no longer disturb your spirit. People will wonder why you are so calm in the midst of uncertainty, but you will know. The restoration has already begun in the spirit, and it is only a matter of time before it manifests in the natural. And the seventh sign, the most powerful of them all, is the revival of purpose. You will feel it, a fire in your bones, a passion that cannot be contained. What once seemed impossible now feels inevitable. The dreams you buried will awaken, the visions you abandoned will resurrect, and you will realize that nothing was wasted. Not the pain, not the years, not even the failures. Everything was a setup for the glory that is about to be revealed. So I tell you, watch for the signs. Do not grow weary. Do not surrender to despair. The wasted years are not lost. They are being restored. God is not only going to give you back what was taken, He is going to give you more than you had before. When the enemy stole, he thought it was over for you. When time slipped away, the world thought you had missed your moment. But they did not know the God you serve. They did not know that He is the author of time, the redeemer of destinies, the God who restores what was lost and multiplies what was stolen. If you have seen these signs in your life, then prepare yourself. Restoration is not coming. It has already begun. There is something powerful about the way God restores. He does not simply replace what was lost. He makes it greater, richer, fuller than before. When He steps into the broken places of your life, He does not leave them as they were. He transforms them. He breathes life into dry bones. He turns mourning into dancing. He makes the latter glory greater than the former. And when His hand begins to move, nothing and no one can stop what He has ordained. But before restoration comes, there is a preparation. God does not pour new wine into old wineskins. He does not rebuild upon a foundation that is cracked and unstable. So when you begin to feel that deep stirring in your spirit, that discomfort that disrupts your routine, understand that God is preparing the vessel before He pours out the blessing. This is where many people lose faith, because the process does not look like restoration. It looks like breaking. It looks like being stripped of the things you once depended on. It looks like isolation, confusion, and waiting. But do not be deceived. This is not destruction, this is construction. This is God making room for what He is about to release. When God is ready to restore, He first removes anything that cannot handle the weight of the blessing. This is why you may have noticed certain people walking away. This is why doors you thought were for you suddenly closed. This is why plans that seemed perfect began to fall apart. Because if God let you carry those things into your restored season, they would crush you. He is a wise builder. He does not construct upon weak foundations. He ensures that what He is restoring will not be lost again. And then, after the pruning, He begins the acceleration. This is where things start happening so quickly, you almost cannot keep up. You will see years of delay overturned in moments. The things you prayed for, fasted for, cried over, suddenly they will manifest, and it will not make sense in the natural. People will look at you and wonder how you went from struggling to thriving in such a short time. They will not understand that when God restores, He does not follow human timelines. He is the God who can do in one day what man could not do in a lifetime. But with acceleration comes the need for wisdom. Do not mistake speed for stability. Many people receive their restoration but lose it just as quickly because they did not have the character to sustain it. Restoration is not just about receiving. It is about managing. It is about stewarding the blessings of God in a way that honors Him. If you do not build wisely, the weight of the blessing can become a burden instead of a gift. This is why one of the greatest signs of restoration is the return of divine wisdom. You will notice that you no longer think the way you used to. The things that once seemed important will lose their value. The priorities you had in the past will shift. You will be drawn to knowledge, to understanding, to divine insight. This is because God is not just giving you back what was lost. He is making you a vessel who can handle greater. And when wisdom returns, so does favor. Favor is one of the clearest signs that God is restoring your wasted years. Doors will open that you did not even knock on. People will offer you opportunities that you did not seek out. You will walk into rooms that you once thought were out of your reach. But be careful. Favor is not a reward. It is an assignment. When God places you in positions of influence, it is not just for your benefit. It is for His kingdom. If you use the restoration for selfish gain, you will find that what was given can also be taken away. But if you understand that the blessing is bigger than you, that it is meant to be a testimony of His goodness, then your restoration will not only be sustained, it will multiply. And multiplication is the next level of restoration. God does not just give you back what you lost. He adds to it. He increases it. He expands it. The relationships you thought were gone forever will return, but stronger. The opportunities you thought had passed you by will come again, but greater. The years that were stolen will be repaid, but with interest. This is the kind of God we serve. He does not deal in mere replacements. He deals in overflow. But even as restoration comes, you must be aware that the enemy does not sit idly by while God blesses you. The moment restoration begins, opposition will arise. Do not be surprised when attacks come out of nowhere. Do not be shocked when people who once supported you suddenly turn against you. This is a strategy of the enemy to make you doubt what God is doing, to make you question whether the restoration is real. But do not be deceived. If the enemy is fighting you, it is because he knows you are stepping into something powerful. Opposition is not a sign that you are losing. It is a sign that you are gaining. The greater the attack, the greater the anointing on your restoration. This is why discernment is critical. You cannot afford to be distracted. You cannot afford to go back to the things that once held you down. When God restores, He does not want you to return to the same cycles, the same patterns, the same mistakes. Restoration requires a new mindset, a new discipline, a new level of faith. You cannot operate in your restored season the way you did in your broken season. What worked in the past will not work in the future. God is giving you new strategies, new insights, new wisdom. If you try to bring an old mentality into a new blessing, you will sabotage what God has given you. And here is one of the most beautiful things about restoration. It is not just for you. When God restores a person, He does it in a way that overflows to others. Your family will be blessed because of your restoration. Your community will be changed because of what God has done in your life. You will become a testimony that will draw others to Him. People who never believed will see what He has done for you and begin to seek Him for themselves. Your restoration is not just about reclaiming what was lost. It is about leading others into their own season of renewal. But be careful not to limit God. Many people miss their restoration because they expect it to look a certain way. They think it will come through a specific person, a particular job, a familiar opportunity. But God does not always move in ways we expect. Sometimes restoration comes through doors you never considered. Sometimes it comes in a form that does not look like what you prayed for. If you are too focused on what was, you will miss what is. Do not hold on to the past so tightly that you cannot receive the future. And above all, when restoration comes, remember the one who gave it to you. Do not forget the wilderness when you step into the promised land. Many people cry out to God when they are in need, but when the blessing comes, they drift away. They become so consumed with the gift that they forget the giver. But restoration is not just about receiving, it is about relationship. God does not just want to restore your years, He wants to restore your connection with Him. He wants you to walk with Him, to trust Him, to depend on Him, not just when you are in need, but always. So as you step into this season of restoration, keep your heart aligned with Him. Do not let pride take root. Do not let distractions pull you away. Do not let fear convince you that the restoration is temporary. What God restores, no man can take away. What God rebuilds, no enemy can destroy. What God redeems, no past mistake can disqualify. If He has begun the work, He will complete it. If He has spoken it, He will bring it to pass. The wasted years are not wasted. They were preparation. They were shaping you, molding you, refining you. And now the time has come. The signs are here. The restoration is happening. What was lost is returning. What was stolen is being repaid. What seemed impossible is becoming reality. And when the fullness of restoration comes, it will not just be enough. It will be more than you could have ever imagined. There comes a moment in life when the weariness of the past begins to give way to something greater. You feel the shift, the tug in your spirit that something is changing. But it doesn't always make sense at first. It's a quiet but profound realization that God is about to do something remarkable. You may have questioned whether the mistakes you made, the time you lost, or the years that seemed wasted would ever amount to anything. But God specializes in taking what was once thought to be broken and turning it into something beautifully restored. You see, restoration is not a quick fix. It's not a superficial patching over the cracks. It's a deep transformative process. When God restores, He doesn't just touch the surface of the issue. He heals the root cause, ensuring that you are not only restored but made whole. He doesn't return you to the place where you were before. He elevates you to a higher level. That's why the restoration process can feel overwhelming at times. It is not just about getting back what you lost. It is about getting back more than you ever thought possible. This is where many people miss the mark. They expect restoration to come in the form they are familiar with, the old job, the old relationship, the old life. But God is not confined to your expectations. He is the God who can make rivers flow in the desert and bring life where there was death. The restoration He offers is not bound by your understanding of what restoration should look like. It transcends time, transcends circumstances, and transcends your limited human perspective. What you thought was lost forever is simply a stepping stone to the greater blessing that God has prepared for you. When you begin to recognize the signs of restoration in your life, you will notice that each step forward is a divine invitation to trust Him more deeply. It is not enough to simply see the signs. You must act in faith, move in obedience, and believe that the God who has promised to restore is faithful to fulfill His word. The moments of delay, the seasons of waiting, and the struggles you have endured are not in vain. They have been a part of the process. God has been refining you for this very moment. He has been shaping your character, strengthening your resolve, and preparing you for the blessings that are on the way. One of the most powerful aspects of God's restoration is His ability to redeem your time. The enemy loves to convince us that the years we have lost are gone forever. He wants us to believe that the mistakes we've made, the doors that have closed, and the chances we missed are beyond recovery. But God's word tells us that He will restore the years that the locusts have eaten. This is not just a metaphor, it is a promise. Every moment that you thought was wasted, every decision you regret, every relationship that fell apart, all of it is subject to the restoring power of God. He does not let time slip through your fingers without purpose. He uses every season to build you up for the time of His favor. As you move forward, one of the key aspects of restoration is that God will often bring back the things you lost in unexpected ways. Sometimes the very things that you thought were lost forever will show up again, but not in the way you imagined. This can be both exciting and challenging because it requires a level of flexibility and trust. You may have had a vision of how your life should look, but God's restoration may come in a form you didn't anticipate. He is not bound by your plans, but He will always fulfill His own. It's important to remain open and receptive to the new things God is doing, even when they don't look like what you originally envisioned. In this time of restoration, God will often surround you with people who will help you move forward. These people may be strangers, new friends, or even old acquaintances who suddenly reappear in your life. They may bring wisdom, encouragement, or opportunities that will propel you toward your destiny. God often uses people as instruments of restoration, connecting you with the right individuals at the right time. It's vital to be discerning in your relationships during this season, because not everyone who crosses your path will be part of your restoration story. Some people are only meant to walk with you for a season, while others will be lifelong partners in your journey. In the midst of restoration, there will also be moments of testing. When God begins to restore, He does not just restore outward things. He also works in the hidden places of the heart. He will test your faith, your patience, and your willingness to forgive. Restoration is not only about receiving, it's also about releasing. You must let go of bitterness, anger, and resentment that may have built up over the years. You cannot carry unforgiveness into your restored life. Just as God forgave you, you must forgive others. When you release the weight of past offenses, you make room for God to do a deeper work in you. He will cleanse your heart, purify your motives, and align you with His perfect will for your life. At the same time, God will bring you to a place of rest. Restoration does not come from striving or struggling. It comes from trusting in God's timing and His plan. You may have spent years trying to fix things on your own, but God is calling you to rest in His promises. The battle is not yours to fight, it is His. When you let go and allow Him to fight on your behalf, you will experience a peace that surpasses all understanding. You will find that the stress and worry that once consumed you begin to fade away, replaced by a deep sense of peace that only comes from knowing that God is in control. As you move deeper into the season of restoration, it will be crucial to maintain a heart of gratitude. God's restoration is not something we deserve, but something He graciously gives. He restores not because we are worthy, but because He is merciful. When you begin to see the signs of restoration in your life, take time to thank God for His faithfulness. Thank Him for the lessons learned, the strength gained, and the growth you have experienced. Gratitude is a powerful tool in the process of restoration. It opens the door for God to continue working in your life and prepares your heart to receive even greater blessings. Remember, restoration is not just about returning to what was lost. It is about moving forward into a new season of abundance. God will never restore you to a place of stagnation. His restoration is always meant to bring you into a higher level of glory. You will not just get back what you lost, you will receive something better, something greater, something that will cause you to shine brighter and reach farther than you ever thought possible. And as you stand on the threshold of this new season, remember this: God's timing is perfect. His plans are higher than yours. His ways are better than yours. And His purpose for your life is greater than anything you could ever imagine. The wasted years were not wasted in His eyes. Every moment, every struggle, every heartache has been part of His divine plan. He has been working behind the scenes, orchestrating your restoration, preparing you for a future that is filled with hope and promise. Trust that what God has begun, He will finish. The restoration He is bringing into your life is not just a temporary fix, it is a permanent transformation. As you walk in faith and obedience, you will see the fullness of God's restoration unfold before your eyes. You will witness the miraculous, experience the extraordinary, and be amazed at the goodness of God. Your wasted years will become a distant memory, overshadowed by the glory of what God has done. As you continue to embrace the unfolding of God's restoration, there is a deep truth that must resonate in your heart. What God has done, He will do again. The restoration you are experiencing now is not a one-time event. It is the beginning of a continual outpouring of His grace. Restoration is not a brief season, but a journey that brings you closer to the fullness of His will for your life. It is an ongoing process that carries you from one level of blessing to the next. You may not yet see the full scope of what God has planned for you, but rest assured, the best is still ahead. This ongoing nature of restoration is significant because it invites you to live in a place of expectancy. As God restores, He opens doors you never thought possible. Just when you think you've reached the pinnacle of His favor, He surprises you with even more. There is no ceiling to His goodness. There is no limit to the ways He can bless you. And the more you align yourself with His purposes, the more you will see His hand move on your behalf. Restoration is not a finished work. It is a continuous unfolding of His promises. God will take you from glory to glory, from strength to strength, and from victory to victory. One of the most beautiful aspects of God's restoration is that it transcends the natural realm. We are often limited by what we see with our eyes, but God's restoration works in the unseen. He is not confined by time, space, or circumstance. When God restores, He works in the invisible realms to shift the atmosphere of your life. He begins to align your circumstances, relationships, and opportunities to match the plans He has for you. You may not see the immediate changes, but you can trust that God is already working behind the scenes, setting things in motion and preparing you for the breakthrough that is on the horizon. Restoration is also a deeply personal process. It is not just about what happens externally in your life. It is about what God is doing inside of you. The changes that come with restoration are not only about material blessings or external success. They are about the transformation of your heart and mind. The years that were wasted were not wasted on you. They were part of the shaping of your character, the strengthening of your spirit, and the refining of your faith. The person you are becoming through this process is the person you need to be to handle the blessings that are about to pour into your life. You have been prepared for this moment, and though the journey has been long, it has been worth every step. As you continue to walk through this process, it is important to recognize that the healing and restoration you experience is not just for your benefit. Yes, God is restoring you, but He is also positioning you to be a blessing to others. Restoration is never just about receiving. It is always about giving. The blessings you receive will flow through you to those around you. God will use your restored life to touch the lives of others, to speak hope into the hopeless, and to show others that the same God who restored you can restore them as well. Your story of restoration will become a testimony that draws people closer to Him. Your pain will turn into purpose, your wounds into wisdom, and your trials into triumphs that inspire others to believe that God is still in the business of making all things new. But as you step into this new season, there are also some critical decisions you must make. God is not going to restore your wasted years and simply leave you where you are. He is calling you to a higher level of responsibility, a deeper level of commitment, and a stronger level of trust. The time of restoration is a time of preparation for what is to come. You cannot afford to go back to old habits, old mindsets, or old ways of doing things. God is calling you to rise up and walk in the fullness of your potential. You are not just being restored for your comfort. You are being restored for your destiny. You are being restored so that you can fulfill the calling on your life, a calling that will impact the world around you. One of the most essential things you must do during this time of restoration is to guard your heart. The enemy will try to plant seeds of doubt, fear, and discouragement in your mind. He will try to convince you that the promises of God are too good to be true, that your restoration is temporary, or that you are not worthy of what God has for you. Do not listen to those lies. Instead, focus on the truth of God's word. Meditate on His promises. Declare that you are walking into a season of restoration, that God is faithful to fulfill His word, and that He is doing a new thing in your life. Keep your eyes fixed on Him and do not allow the distractions of the world to pull you off course. As you continue to move forward, you will encounter moments of resistance. The enemy will try to convince you that you are not ready for what God is doing in your life. He will try to cause you to second-guess yourself, to doubt your ability to handle the blessings that are coming. But remember that God has equipped you for this season. He has already placed within you everything you need to succeed. The restoration that is coming is not just about what God is doing for you. It is about what He has already placed inside of you to accomplish His purpose. When you walk in His strength, His wisdom, and His grace, you can accomplish anything He has called you to do. The blessings that come with restoration are not meant to make you proud or self-sufficient. They are meant to draw you closer to God, to make you more dependent on Him, and to deepen your relationship with Him. As God restores your life, remember that He is not just giving you things, He is drawing you into a deeper intimacy with Him. The ultimate goal of restoration is not the things you receive, but the closeness you experience with God. As He restores your life, He is inviting you to know Him in a deeper way, to trust Him more fully, and to rely on His guidance for every step of your journey. God's restoration is a process of both healing and equipping. It heals the wounds of the past, but it also prepares you for the future. The years that you thought were lost have been used by God to shape you into the person you need to be for the work He has ahead of you. The restoration is not just about making things right. It is about setting you up for even greater things. It is about positioning you to walk in your purpose with confidence, knowing that God has been faithful every step of the way. The restoration is not just a return to what was, it is a launching pad for what is to come. And as God continues to restore, He will bring you into alignment with the purpose and destiny He has for you. He will connect you with the right people, open the right doors, and give you the wisdom to navigate the journey ahead. You may not know all the details, but you can trust that He is leading you step by step. He will guide you through every challenge, and He will be with you every moment of the way. His promises are yes and amen, and He will never leave you or forsake you. So as you embrace the signs of restoration in your life, remember that this is only the beginning. The best is yet to come. What God has started in you, He will bring to completion. You are being restored not just for today, but for the future He has for you. Trust in His timing, His plan, and His faithfulness. Your wasted years are not wasted. They are stepping stones to a greater destiny. And as God restores, you will walk in the fullness of His blessings, becoming everything He has created you to be. In the continued journey of restoration, there is a profound understanding that you are not merely being restored for your own benefit, but for a greater purpose that stretches beyond your personal desires. The purpose of your restoration is to be a beacon of hope to others. As you walk through the process of reclaiming what was lost, others will see the hand of God upon your life. They will recognize the transformation, the restoration, and the miracles that have taken place, and it will draw them to the God who is capable of doing the impossible. Your life will serve as a testimony of His faithfulness, a living proof that no matter how deep the loss or how long the wait, God can and will restore what was taken. God's restoration doesn't just bring back what was lost. It brings you into a higher place of influence and purpose. It empowers you to live out your calling and destiny with a greater clarity and conviction. In the process of restoration, God reshapes your vision and broadens your perspective. No longer will you be limited by what you see with your physical eyes. You will begin to see with the eyes of faith. What once seemed impossible will now become within reach, because God is the one orchestrating your steps. You are not walking alone, but with the Creator of the universe, who is able to do immeasurably more than all you could ask or imagine. With each step of restoration, you will also begin to notice a shift in your spiritual maturity. The trials and tribulations you have endured in the past were not wasted. They were moments of refining that have made you stronger. God uses these challenges to shape your character, to build perseverance, and to deepen your reliance on Him. As you step into the fullness of your restoration, you will find that you no longer see the world through the lens of fear or doubt. Instead, you will view it with the confidence that comes from knowing that the God who has restored you is more than capable of carrying you through anything that lies ahead. Restoration also brings a greater sense of peace. It is easy to feel unsettled when things are not going the way you expected, but as God begins to restore, He will give you peace that surpasses all understanding. This peace will be your anchor in the midst of storms, a constant reminder that God is working in your life. Even when things don't make sense, when the path forward seems unclear, this peace will remind you that you are in the palm of His hand. Nothing can take you from His care, and nothing can separate you from His love. Along with peace, restoration brings joy. It is a deep, abiding joy that comes from knowing that God is faithful, that He has not abandoned you, and that He is bringing you into the fullness of His promises. The joy of the Lord becomes your strength. It strengthens your spirit, encourages your heart, and lifts you up when you feel weary. This joy is not dependent on circumstances. It is a joy that flows from a deep relationship with God. Even when the world around you seems uncertain, this joy remains because you know that God is doing something mighty in your life. As you continue to walk in this season of restoration, it's essential to remember the role that faith plays. You must trust God's process, even when it seems like nothing is happening. God's timing is always perfect, and although it may not feel like it, He is working in ways that you cannot yet see. Your faith in His restoration power is what keeps you anchored during the waiting periods. It is faith that keeps you pressing forward when everything in you wants to give up. It is faith that helps you hold on to the promises of God, even when your circumstances seem to suggest otherwise. The act of waiting during the process of restoration is a vital part of the journey. Waiting doesn't mean inactivity. It is an active waiting that involves seeking God, praying, staying faithful, and continuing to trust in His plan. During the waiting, God is preparing you for what is to come. He is positioning you, molding you, and refining you so that when the fullness of your restoration arrives, you will be ready to walk in it without hesitation. The waiting process is often the hardest part, but it is also the most important. It is in the waiting that your faith grows, your endurance strengthens, and your trust in God deepens. One of the most encouraging aspects of restoration is that God is not bound by your past. He doesn't hold your mistakes or failures against you. He is a God of grace, and His forgiveness covers every misstep, every wrong turn, and every failure. His love is unconditional, and His mercy is new every morning. As you walk in the restoration process, remember that God is not looking at your past to determine your future. He is looking at your heart and your willingness to submit to His will. The mistakes you've made do not disqualify you from the blessings He has in store. Instead, they serve as reminders of His mercy and His ability to redeem. This period of restoration also brings with it a renewed sense of purpose. You will begin to see the divine calling on your life with clarity and focus. The years that once seemed wasted will suddenly come into sharp focus, and you will realize that God was always working, even in the midst of your struggles. He was preparing you, teaching you, and equipping you for the very work He has called you to do. Your past experiences, though difficult, have equipped you to fulfill your calling with greater depth, understanding, and compassion. One of the challenges that often arises during the restoration process is the temptation to look back. It can be difficult not to dwell on the years you feel were wasted or the opportunities that slipped through your fingers. But you must remember that God is not calling you to look back. He is calling you to move forward, to embrace the future with confidence, and to trust that the best is yet to come. The past may have shaped you, but it does not define you. Your identity is rooted in Christ, and your future is secure in His hands. As you embrace God's restoration in your life, you will also experience a heightened sense of gratitude. The very things you once took for granted will become treasures in your heart. You will begin to see the beauty in the small things, the everyday blessings that God has lavished upon you. Gratitude will flow from your heart like a river, because you will understand that everything you have is a gift from God. The material blessings, the relationships, the opportunities, they are all part of the restoration that God has brought into your life. It is a reminder that you are not alone, that God is working in and through you, and that His love never fails. With restoration comes a new level of strength. You will find that you are able to withstand challenges that once seemed insurmountable. The trials you faced in the past have built up your spiritual muscles, and you are now stronger than you have ever been. The fears that once held you back will lose their grip on you. The insecurities that once plagued you will no longer define your actions. You will stand firm in the power of God's restoration, and you will face each new challenge with courage and confidence, knowing that the God who has restored you is able to carry you through anything that comes your way. Throughout the process of restoration, one thing will become abundantly clear. God's love for you is immeasurable. It is a love that never falters, never diminishes, and never fades away. Even when you feel unworthy or inadequate, God's love remains constant. His love is what sustains you, strengthens you, and propels you into the fullness of His restoration. It is through His love that everything else flows. His restoration is a tangible expression of that love, and it is a love that will carry you through every season, every challenge, and every victory. As you continue to witness God's restoration in your life, know that it is not just a moment in time. It is a life-altering process. You are being restored not just for a season, but for eternity. The transformation you are experiencing now will impact generations to come. Your life, fully restored, will be a testimony to the world of the power of God's grace, mercy, and love. It will be a testament that no matter how much time was lost, no matter how many mistakes were made, God is always faithful to restore and redeem. And as you continue to walk in His restoration, you will see the fullness of His promises unfold before your eyes. As you stand on the precipice of restoration, know that God's work in your life is far from finished. The journey of reclaiming what was lost is not just a return to what once was, but a powerful unfolding of a greater purpose. Each step of restoration brings you closer to the fullness of God's plan for you, shaping you, strengthening you, and preparing you for the blessings that lie ahead. Your wasted years are not in vain. They are stepping stones leading you to a future filled with purpose, peace, joy, and success. The God who has restored you will continue to do so, equipping you for the work He has called you to do. Remember that restoration is not just for you, it is for the world around you, as your testimony becomes a beacon of hope for others. Trust in God's process and walk confidently into your restored future.